All right, y'all. So let's talk about this story that came out a few days ago because I think this is really interesting for a number of reasons. So, CAIR is the Council on American and Islamic Relations, CAIR. Okay, and they're a Muslim group, and usually, I've seen them get involved with different court cases when there's some anti-Muslim law that shouldn't be on the books, and they'll go to court to try to slap that down. They fought Trump's Muslim ban. They've done a lot of work along those lines. Well, they commissioned a poll and asked a bunch of Muslim voters around the country who they prefer for president, and the results are astonishing. So look at this. First of all, Arizona, 35% of Muslim American voters say they support Jill Stein. 29% say Kamala Harris, 15% say Trump. Michigan, 40% say Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. 18% say Trump, 12% say Harris. Wisconsin, Jill Stein, 44%. Kamala Harris, 39%. Trump, 8%. Georgia, this, I believe, is where Kamala starts getting the better of Jill Stein. Kamala, 43%. Jill Stein, 17%. Trump, 14%. Pennsylvania, Kamala, 37%. Stein, 25%. Trump, 8%. Nevada, Trump, 27%. Kamala, 26%. Stein, 13%. Interesting. Apparently, the Muslim Americans in Nevada are the most right-wing of the Muslims in the country. But these numbers, guys, these numbers are astonishing. These are astonishing numbers. So in multiple swing states, Jill Stein is polling higher with Muslim American voters than Kamala Harris. Multiple swing states. Now, if you're a Democratic insider and you look at this, you might say, well, who really cares? Because overall, the percentage of the vote that Jill Stein is going to get, maybe if she performs well, it's 3%, 3.5%. In reality, it'll probably be closer to 1 or 2%, but ultimately it might even end up under 1%. So that's a tiny bit, not really that big a deal. Let's overlook it, right? That's what some Democratic insiders might say. Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is, even in an election where the Electoral College, where one of the candidates gets over 300 Electoral College votes, right, and seemingly wins comfortably, even if they win by 7 million in the popular vote, these elections have come down to tens of thousands of votes in the swing states. So it's really not that many votes. I know Joe Biden won by 7 million. I know Hillary won by 3 million in terms of the popular vote. But it really was, 40,000 votes in the swing states for Hillary, a little more for Biden, maybe over 100,000 or something for Biden, a couple 100,000. That's really not that much. In a country of over 300 million people, that's really not that much to decide the election. And so what people need to understand is this, and this is what the Democrats need to grasp. When people like me and others like me come out and say, hey man, stop arming and funding the genocide of Palestinians, stop giving Netanyahu, a war criminal, more money and more weapons on a regular basis, and then sitting back as he carpet bombs children. Stop doing that. When we make that claim, it is not solely a moral and ethical claim, although it is. That's the bulk of it, is that we actually should lead with morality and not arm and fund a genocide. I know, crazy. But it's also, we're helping from a political perspective. If you don't change course on Gaza, or at least threaten to cut off the weapons, right, then you are running the risk of losing some of these swing states by less than a percentage point. And the difference maker could be you pissed off Arab Americans and Muslim Americans so thoroughly that they stayed home, or they voted for Jill Stein, or they voted for Cornel West, or whatever, but they didn't vote for you. That's the risk that you run. So it's not just when we make these claims, it is both a moral and ethical claim. Hey, arming a genocide is objectively bad and criminal and should stop immediately. But then it's also from a political perspective. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You are taking Arab American and Muslim American votes for granted. And if these communities abandon you, because in recent elections they have voted Democrat, but if they abandon you and you lose by a little bit, well, who's really to blame for that? When these people were telling you from the beginning, they've done focus groups of these people, and like the uncommitted movement, for example, and it was about 50% of the uncommitted voters said, look, I would love to vote for the Democrat. I'd love to do it, but they have to cut off the money and the weapons to Israel. They have to express some sort of disapproval with Israel, right? This is what they say. Stop the genocide, stop sending money and weapons, and then we'll support you. 50%, that could be tens of thousands of votes, and that could literally make the difference in the election. But it looks like Kamala and Biden, and forget the Republicans are even worse on this front, but they're all swimming in money given to them by AIPAC, and they value the tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars given to them by their AIPAC donors. They value that more than the lives of innocent Palestinian kids being blown up on a daily basis, right? It's unconscionable. It's unconscionable. But look, the warning is coming in advance. The warning is coming in advance. You have to cut off the money and cut off the weapons, or at least threaten to cut off the weapons. You have to change policy vis-a-vis Israel. You have to acknowledge this guy is not only a war criminal, and they should issue an arrest warrant for him, but there's also a guy who's basically a partisan Republican. He wants Trump to win. And that's the other piece of this that I keep bringing up is, guys, it is very likely the October surprise before the election is going to be Netanyahu doing an all-out invasion of Lebanon to go after Hezbollah, or an all-out invasion or bombing campaign against Iran, against the Revolutionary Guard. And in that scenario, Biden has already broadcasted, hey, we'll be there to fight Israel's war for them. We already have some warships that are in the region. We'll be there to fight the war for you. Do you not understand that the door is wide open for Netanyahu to try to tank this election, drag down Biden's poll numbers more, drag down Kamala's as well, and make it so that Trump gets in there? And basically, when Trump gets in there, it's beyond a green light. We already have a green light. It would be the greenest of green lights you've ever seen in your life. In fact, Trump took $100 million from Miriam Adelson under the condition, hey, you need to let Israel officially annex the West Bank. So if you think what's happening in Gaza is bad, and it is, it's a fucking nightmare, they're also going to Gaza the West Bank. That's what's going to happen. They already started it, but they're going to speed it up, and there's going to be zero, even a veneer of pushing back in any way, shape, or form. That's gone. That is gone. So you got to switch directions. You have to. You have to stop what you're doing here. You have to stop what you're doing, because 48,000 Palestinians in Gaza being killed is unacceptable. 90% civilian death rate. They have literal concentration camps and torture camps in Israel now. They're on video anally graping an innocent Palestinian prisoner until they die with a metal rod up there, you know what. We have all this, and they say nothing about that. They just keep sending the money, keep sending the weapons, and keep reiterating Israel has a right to defend themselves. They're not defending themselves. They are the aggressor. They are the ones bombing everybody. They bomb Hezbollah. They bomb in Iran. They took out a top political wing of Hamas leader who was negotiating for a ceasefire. They're totally unhinged. They're untethered. They are acting like the new Nazi Germany. So as a matter of morality, you got to cut off the money and the weapons. But beyond that, to just save your ass politically, you got to cut off the money and the weapons. If Kamala Harris were to break from Biden and indicate a change in policy towards Israel, I guarantee you these numbers would flip and Kamala would be leading Jill Stein. There wouldn't be a single state where Jill Stein is up with Muslim American voters. There wouldn't be a single one. By the way, it's interesting. I guess they didn't include Cornel West in this poll, because it would have been interesting to see his numbers too. And insofar as he's in there, I don't even know what states he's on the ballot of, to be honest. It's very difficult as an independent to get on the ballots. But this wouldn't be the case. This would not be the case if she just came out and was open to changing the course on Israel. It wouldn't be the case. It wouldn't happen. It's not like these Muslim American voters don't know that Jill Stein's not going to win. They know she's not going to win. They don't care. It's a principled vote. It's, hey, you're sending money and sending weapons, and my fellow Muslim brothers and sisters are being massacred. Innocent people are being massacred. A lot of these people have family members that are there, and they've openly talked about it. Berating them to fall in line is not going to work, nor should it. And it really doesn't take much to gain the trust back, because they all know, the overwhelming majority of them know, Trump is a greater evil. He is a bigger monster. They understand that. They understand that. But if on this issue, Trump represents 100% evil and the Democrats are 92% evil, right? I mean, most of them are like, hey, could we just get it down to like 46% evil? Like, we'll take that, right? Well, just make it so that there is something to vote for and there's some hope. There's some hope here. So again, you might hear a lot of blame, a lot of fingers being pointed, but the fact of the matter is, it's not like the door's not open. It's not like we don't know how she can gain back half of these voters that left. It's very simple. Be open to a change of course on Israel. Indicate you will cut off the weapons. Indicate we're going to condition it. Like, that's all you got to do. That's it. That's it. Is the AIPAC money really that important and that sweet that you say, I'm never, ever, ever going to give it up, regardless if there's 300,000 dead civilians? Because that is dark, bro. That is super dark. So, look, the ball's in their court. We already mentioned how she can get it so she gets a majority of these voters. And I believe that to my core. If she changes direction on that, she'll get a majority. What's interesting is Jill Stein asked somebody to be her VP. I'm blanking on that person's name right now. Forgive me. Put it in the comment section if you know. Muslim American woman. And asked this person to be her VP. And apparently this woman said to Jill Stein, yes, I'll do it under the condition that if we get in writing a guarantee from the Democrats that they'll cut off weapons to Israel and change course on Gaza, if we can get that in that scenario, we drop out and we endorse them. That was the deal. The deal was, look, I'm open to it. I understand what we're doing here, but if we can get this tangible, rock-solid agreement, an actual deal, it's kind of like Trump and RFK Jr. clearly made a deal behind the scenes. They're being pragmatic in a sense. So this woman said, if we do that, then yes, I'll be your VP. And apparently Jill Stein didn't want to do it, right? But that was the path. That was the strat. I do think that would have been the best possible way to have the best possible impact. But, the problem is no guarantee the Democrats are going to even take a deal-making thing like that seriously. They rejected a deal with RFK, which I understand because RFK is a different story. But, working with the Green Party would honestly be something that helps the Democrats. It's not like the Democrats haven't taken bits and pieces from the Green Party before and hasn't realized they're super popular. I mean, the Green New Deal originally came from the Green Party, and then it was adopted at certain times during certain elections by the Democrats. Bernie leaning into single-payer Medicare for all. A lot of these ideas were front and center as part of the Green Party for a long time, and eventually it became sort of like the dub position that you have to run on at least some of these things, running as a Democrat. So there is space there for, okay, let's work together. Let's move the ball down the field. But in this instance, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But again, who's really to blame in a scenario where you hemorrhage Muslim American voters? I don't think what they're asking for is that much. And like I said, you can gain back about half of them or maybe more if you just change policy on Israel. And by the way, I think it's a misnomer that, if you change policy, that now suddenly you'll lose a tremendous swath of Jewish American voters. I don't buy that. The majority of Jewish American voters, just like the majority of all Americans, want a ceasefire in the region. There's not some weird dual loyalty thing where they feel like the far-right government of Israel is always right, even when they're doing a genocide. No. So you're not going to lose Jewish voters. You're going to gain Muslim voters, but obviously who would they piss off? AIPAC. And they don't want to piss off AIPAC, and that's the bottom line. But this is Muslim Americans effectively trying to leverage their votes. And I think every reasonable person completely understands where they're coming from. And, it's a warning. We are offering the warning to Kamala Harris. The warning is here. It is crystal clear. It is crystal clear. If you lose by razor-thin margins and it's in these swing states and you crunch the numbers on the Muslim American voters who didn't show up for you, don't say it couldn't be avoided, because it absolutely positively can. So for moral reasons and ethical reasons and pragmatic political reasons, cut off the money and the weapons. Got to do it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.